Our problem was the restaurant health score, and so we developed an app called A+ Restaurants, which you see here. The problem basically is this. There's no access to restaurant health inspection scores in a consumable format. In Georgia particularly, every county does this individually, and they all release them in different formats in different ways. And so you can use scrapers to retrieve some of that data, and quite a bit of the data, but it's not really a sustainable way to create application usable to multiple people. And people need to get this information when they're on the go, or even when they're in a restaurant. You know, sometimes you go to a restaurant, you don't see the health inspection score there, or they kind of conveniently hide it. And so, you know, like to be able to pull up on your phone, see where you're at, and see what the score is for that location. So some of our application requirements here, we want an easy-to-use interface, long-term sustainability of the application. We want this users to be able to use this, and also the scores to be able to stay updated. Also mobile capabilities and integrating geolocation. Existing application. So I found out about this event a couple weeks ago. And about a month ago, I had put out a web map application that I created because I was like, man, this is a problem in Atlanta. And I scraped about 7,000 records off Cobb, DeKalb, and Fulton's websites, and just created this map here. And you know, it allows users to click on it and see the score. But you know, then again, the problem is there's no way. There's a way to update the data, but it involves scraping the website. It's not really a long-term solution for application. And the problem is every county varies. So I had to build separate scrapers for DeKalb, Fulton, and Cobb. And just to kind of show you real quick, you know, an issue with their current solution is that this is Fulton County's health inspection site here. And if you link directly from their website and you search, their search is broken half the time, and their functionality doesn't work. And so this is the Fulton County one here. And if you search waffle, get Gladys Knight chicken and waffles, and you can see that way. Cool. So it's not really sustainable. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit too, and we're going to try to get a demo of what we did. We actually did it on 2 platforms rather than one. Part of, like he said, the problem was just sustainability and trying to get some form of geolocation at all. Do you want to try to get that plugged in? And so what we did initially was we broke off into 2 teams. We actually had 3 Android developers that were interested in doing it, and then we had myself and this individual here, and we were working on a web application. I was doing primarily the back end, he was doing the front end, and what we ended up building was something that looks like this. What we wanted to really do was get something that did one thing really, really well, and something that you could easily use at least every time you went out looking for a restaurant. So you come to the site, and the first thing you would get is the homepage. All right, now you got basic A+ Restaurants is the name that we're going by for now, and there's a basic call to action, which is find a restaurant health score. All right, from there you know why you're here, and you can either search and type in a restaurant, which, you know, type in, I don't know, Burger King, you know, just for reference, and you can actually submit it, and it will query the scrape data to go through and give you all the different scores for what's in the Atlanta area. Okay, now if you go back up, we actually have additional navigation where you can filter by score at the very top up here. And it's on a scale from 0 to 100, and you just pick the minimum score that you're willing to accept. So I go to like 99 because there's actually a lot of good scores in this data set. Yeah, that's good enough. And then you just submit it, and it will actually render all of that. Now, when you actually look through this, we actually avoided doing a map. The big reason we avoided doing a map is if you put a lot of points on a map on a mobile phone, it's so small that you have to click on each one just to see what it is, whereas you can actually scroll through the list, and you can see a lot more locations and access the information a lot faster. Now, if you go and you actually click on one of these list items, it will take you through, and you have an option. I don't know if it's going to work on the iOS simulator, but you can click on the address, and it should pull up Google Maps and actually map where it is. And from there, you can actually just route to go to a location if you want, or at least know and have that reference. There is functionality, and I know this isn't going to work on iOS, but it will work on a mobile phone. We've tested it, and it does work in browser for geolocation. You click that, and it passes your coordinates to the system, and then it runs it for a 1.5-mile radius in reference to anything that's in the system and lists and spits out all of those. We're going to do some future filtering in the development so that you can actually maybe increase that if you were wanting to do maybe a short drive versus a brief walk, and maybe if you just wanted, didn't see anything in the area you were looking for. The last thing we wanted to do was we had to try to tackle the sustainability, and scraping websites, it could break, especially if they try to change how they're doing it. So the big thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to do user submission. Now the problem with user submission is you can have malicious people or people fabricating, and as a result, we're going to try to, in the future, come up with some form of verification system that will either do some form of some form of algorithm that's going to take into account what we can and can't do. That's going to be discussed between the people that take the leads on the project. Now, I mean, you can see the form for now. It just queries and adds it to it and whatnot. It's a real simple app. I really wanted the focus to be just on the fact that we could easily, on the go, find a restaurant and be able to get the health score and get the information, because that's something that is, like he said, pivotal for us to do.
2.5 minutes.
Sweet. Any questions? No? Yes?
Okay, so you have control over whether you can share a restaurant? I mean, you can test their food, or you have like FDA permission to go in and, I guess, like sample or have kitchen access?
No, we actually don't do any of that. We pull all of it from, we pulled all the initial data set from the government. And in the future, we're going to have to use, like I said, some form of verification system, because that's not something we want to do. I don't think scraping websites is ethical in a sense, because it increases bandwidth like crazy. And it like I said, if they end up changing their, just the site at all, it can break the scraper, and it can let down a lot of people that are using the app.
And user submission works like this: is you go to a restaurant, you go to Chick-fil-A or something, and you look it up and you say, oh, this isn't in the app, or hey, I saw their health score there and it's changed since then. So user submission allows you to submit that new score, so numerical integer to that.
So what are you getting from when you scrape? Just the score number? Or is there any information about the report and the violation?
Yeah, so on the scrape data, we have a link to the online PDF of the actual form, and a link to the record on the health department's website as well.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, you mentioned all the variation between across counties, and that's probably factors into why somebody like Yelp doesn't have this. They have reviews and things like that. They don't have health inspection scores. But when people go eat, they might want to find a good restaurant and then check to see if it's okay. Or they might have some criteria, like I'm only going to eat at 90s, and then see if it's a good restaurant, right? So could you put the link to the Yelp review once they launch the restaurant, so they can go the other way?
We've talked about that possibility. Now, the only thing that has happened is, for right now, we were just really focused on getting the core functionality down, because we had basically 3 teams in a sense. We had him with his data set that we had to integrate into 2 applications that previously didn't even exist up until 24 hours ago. And so we had 3 guys working probably 16, 18 hours, and then him and I, well, actually he's over there, worked pretty much. I was still working when the first presentation started.
And the calls, the queries, and the posts for the submissions are open calls. So actually, the Android app and the web app are using the exact same queries and exact same calls. So it would be open for other platforms to be able to integrate into.
So we'd like to eventually be something that maybe, if we have a sustainable option, Yelp could integrate us into their system.
And we want to look at modularizing it and making it configurable so that it can also expand to other places versus just Atlanta.